So this is something that's really, honestly, really, really hilarious. So, if you don't already know, Ben Shapiro absolutely hates Hollywood and everything about it. He hates that they're all liberals and says that they're all in this, bubble. They're in their own little echo chamber, and so they all are liberals, and they sort of just bounce ideas off each other and don't really get out of their zone or whatever and stuff like that. He really, really hates Hollywood. And I'm not even gonna say that I'm really that big of a fan of Hollywood. I think it's really honestly whatever. A lot of them I do think are in a different kind of bubble where they're in this, sort of, rich person bubble where they're not affected by, normal people issues. They don't have issues with, paying medical bills and, paying for college education. They don't have any of those problems. So when you see these celebrities who claim to be like these liberals and then they go and endorse Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders, you can tell why. And it's because they're in their own little corporatist or rich person bubble in which they're not actually affected by anything. But here's something that, so this is a multi-fronted thing. I found this really, really fucking hilarious. So first thing I want to do is I want to bring you guys back to when Ben Shapiro absolutely applauded Chris Pratt for, saying that, going on stage and saying that he believes in God and he's a Christian. So one statement that I want to make is that it's hilarious to me because over 70% of the nation is Christian, and there's nobody who would actually do the opposite and get that same reaction, because the reaction that Chris Pratt received was overwhelmingly positive. And do you know why? It's because it's a super, really, really basic routine thing that people say, especially when accepting awards like that. You always have thanks for God and stuff like that. So it was a weird thing from the beginning, but obviously it was sort of contrary to his point when the entire audience is behind him, cheering him on, clapping for him, and all behind him in support. And one thing about that is it showed that his problem with Hollywood essentially is that they don't agree with him. So it's sort of like Candace Owens. Candace Owens makes this PragerU video saying that, celebrities, we don't give as smallest possible existing particle of shit. Basically, we don't give any of the littlest possible shit ever about what you think. And then as soon as a huge celebrity, Kanye West, tweets out saying, I like the way Candace Owens thinks, well, now it's the time to strike for your career. And so you capitalize off that massively. So it's not actually a thing of we don't care about celebrities. It's that, they don't agree with us. So that's the sort of theme that runs through that. And I noticed that with Candace Owens as well as a hypocrisy. But that is what we saw. I want to play you guys the clip from when Ben Shapiro vehemently praised Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt was at the MTV Movie Awards. Chris Pratt's awesome. Hey, Chris Pratt is apparently a religious Christian, which I had kind of heard rumors of, but it's pretty obvious that that's the case from the speech that he gave at the MTV Movie Awards, which is, frankly, a speech that I could have given except for his weird riff about pooping in a neighbor's bathroom. Aside from that, he gave his speech was really fantastic. So here's what he had to say to all the millennials in the crowd.
Number 6, God is real. God loves you. God wants the best for you. Believe that. I do. Number 8, learn to pray. It's easy, and it's so good for your soul. And finally, number 9, nobody is perfect. People are going to tell you you're perfect just the way you are. You're not. You are imperfect. You always will be, but there is a powerful force that designed you that way. And if you're willing to accept that, you will have grace. And grace is a gift. And like the freedom that we enjoy in this country, that grace was paid for with somebody else's blood. Do not forget it.
Well, it's pretty spectacular stuff. I mean, even as a Jew, right? I'm not big into the whole in the whole paid for somebody else's blood routine as far as your flaws, but just as a religious person, this is wonderful. I mean, this is so brave. Okay, you want to talk about bravery in public spaces? People were like, wow, look at Robert De Niro going out there and saying F Trump and standing ovation at the Tonys because F Trump. That's not brave. Everybody in the room believes F Trump. But Chris Pratt goes in front of a room of Hollywood people who are going to go after this and go smoke weed and do cocaine and nail a hooker, right? And he's standing up there going that, and he's up there saying that God is real, you should cultivate your prayer, and you're a flawed human being, so you should seek grace in God. Like, that's awesome stuff. Good for Chris Pratt. Really good for Chris Pratt, one of the good guys in Hollywood. And just by me saying that, I may have lost him 4 jobs there. So I apologize to you, Chris Pratt, except I figure that he's a big enough star that he can probably handle it.
I mean, really, again, the funniest part to that is like this, it sort of revolves around this fake victim complex for Christians who think that they're somehow under attack because, you know, Starbucks coffee cups say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas because there are other people, despite being the minority, there are other people who celebrate different things. And so there's this fake war on Christmas. And now they're saying there's this fake war on religion, which is really non-existent. Atheists are the most hated people, period. And it's just something that's really fake. And this idea that it's tough to go up when you're in Hollywood and say, you know, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, as if that's a hard thing, when that's essentially the routine thing that everyone does anyways, is pretty laughable, to say the least. But here is where Ben Shapiro got really pissed off and really triggered, and it's really, really funny. So the Emmys, I guess, happened, and here's what this tweet that was sent out by Complex. It says, quote, "I don't even believe in God, but I'm going to thank her tonight. Thandie Newton accepting her award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series at the Emmys." So this is multi-fronted triggering, levels of triggering for Ben Shapiro. First of all, he's getting triggered at it because it's the Emmys, so it has to do with Hollywood and it has to do with actors. So that automatically is a bad thing for him because the majority of them are liberal and don't agree with him. If they agreed with him, he'd be just fine with them. But because they don't agree with them, he has a problem with them. But the thing that there's not only is it that, you know, she's saying, I don't believe in God, but the funny thing is that she says, but I'm going to thank her tonight. Now, oddly enough, this was something that Ben Shapiro went on a tangent about, arguing against, saying that, and actually, I don't really know if God would, I mean, God doesn't have a gender, obviously, but he went on like a really like long tirade tangent on Twitter about that, arguing with a shit ton of people about like whether or not, basically he was saying that God doesn't have a gender, which I mean, obviously, but that has to be really triggering for him. But what's hilarious is here's what he responded with. So he responded with saying, "I don't even believe in the Emmys, but I'm going to laugh at them tonight." So first of all, I want to say, really, really trash, like really horrific joke. I know now why Ben Shapiro is not a comedian. It's because he's not funny in the slightest. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And the problem with that is it's a self-burn, because what is that person going to respond to you with? They're going to say, well, the difference between, you know, Emmys and God is that Emmys exist. That's what they're going to say. Which is, not only is what you're saying not make sense because the Emmys exist whether you believe in it or not, but you're setting yourself up for a dunk. It'd be like, you know, setting yourself up for a poster in an NBA game. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you just stand there in the way, or do like some kind of a fake contest. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so the thing that I wanted to say is that the whole having someone whose mantra and whose saying and motto is, you know, facts don't care about your feelings, it's really, really ironic that he would espouse such beliefs because, and this was something that was pointed out, that I first saw pointed out by Ali A. Rizvi. He said, you know, I forgot exactly what he said, but he said, you know, how can someone who believes in this be somebody who says facts over feelings? Because obviously, it essentially contains full-on feelings, and so it's really a weird position to be in when that's your entire saying, and then you're all up in your feelings. You're all up in your feelings. And so I just thought that this was absolutely hilarious. But the funny thing is where he thought that this took courage for Chris Pratt, for what he said took courage. But the truth is that Thandie Newton actually, it took a lot of courage for what she did, because that is not common at all. Nobody says that. That's not even close to being mainstream, not even remotely close. I don't see it in the near future being that close either. I mean, it's pretty insane. I'm actually really surprised that she said that. And apparently, there were people in the crowd who were not too pleased at her saying that, which, again, is not surprising in the least. But just to sort of put the cherry on top of all the bullshit sandwich that was provided by Ben Shapiro, the thing that actually was, courageous in sorts was this statement by her, which is pretty darn hilarious.